What's up guys, my name is Dominic from Dominic Talks Movies. Today I'm going to be counting down my top 10 favorite movie sequels of all time. If that sounds interesting, let's get right into the video. Coming in at my number 10 spot, I have Avengers Infinity War. Now this is the only Marvel film or MCU film on this list, and although I do love it, I just don't love it as much as these other films on the list. It's my second favorite MCU movie, only behind the first Guardians of the Galaxy, which isn't a sequel, so that won't be on this list either. But Avengers Infinity War is a film that I really love. I love how different it is from the rest of the MCU. The tone does feel kinda similar to some of the other films, but I think what it actually does is much different. The stakes seem way higher than in any other film except for maybe Endgame. I love how they kind of humanize Thanos in this. He's kind of not seen as a villain. They almost make you convinced that he is doing the right thing, that what he's doing is correct. And I really love that about him, how he is seen as someone who is doing the right thing and maybe not as an actual villain. And I thought that dynamic with him was absolutely incredible. Obviously with all Marvel movies, they are all very fun. They have some great action. The visuals looked great because it was released not very long ago. And overall, as in many of these Avengers films and all these team up films, the dialogue, the banter, all that is pretty great. And we just got some amazing sequences in the mix, as well as one of the greatest villains of all time, in my opinion. Thanos in Infinity War is definitely one of the greatest villains of all time. So that's why I love Infinity War, and that's why it is my number 10 spot on the list. Coming in at my number 9 spot, I have Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Now this is my second favorite Harry Potter film. You could probably guess my very first one is the very first one. I just have so much nostalgia for that film. I don't think it's the best necessarily, but I just absolutely love it. And then it's not a sequel, so I can't include it on this list. But The Prisoner of Azkaban, in my opinion, is the best Harry Potter movie, the best made. The cinematography is great. I think the colors work really well, like the color grading and all that sort of stuff. We got the child actors at this point kind of coming into their own. They're getting a little bit older, you know, they're turning 13, 14, whatever. So they're kind of developing as actors and actresses, and so the acting does work well. I think the acting, especially from Alan Rickman and I think David Thewlis as Professor Snape is Alan Rickman, and David Thewlis is Professor Lupin. They're two great performances and two really great characters. You obviously got the new Dumbledore because Richard Harris died after I think the Chamber of Secrets was released, so they had to change. The new Dumbledore, I don't like him as much, but he's still pretty great. I think the Sirius Black is pretty intimidating as a villain, even though you don't really even see him for like 90% of the film. He's super intimidating. His presence is almost looming over the entire film because you feel him there even though he's not actually there. And I think what makes this film stand out amongst the rest, other than awesome moments like Harry learning his Patronus charm and a bunch of Defense Against the Dark Arts stuff with Professor Lupin, is the mixture of tones. So the first two films, while the second one is pretty dark, the first two feel way more lighthearted and more fun, have that sense of wonder. And then fourth all the way up until the very last, the eighth movie, there's a much darker tone, a much more serious tone. And I think the third movie is the best in the franchise because it mixes those two tones just perfectly. So it still has some of that fun, some of that wonder of the first two films in the franchise, but then it also has the dark aspects of 4 and beyond. And I think it mixes those so perfectly, courtesy of Alfonso Cuarón, who directed it. Even though this was his only film in the franchise, I do think he did the best job directing, and I wish they would have brought him on for more films, but he was only there for one, and it just happens to be the best. So Prisoner of Azkaban comes in at my number 9. Coming in at my number 8 spot, I have Toy Story 4. 4. Now, this is my favorite Toy Story sequel, and here's why. I think people don't like it because they say it ruined Woody's character or whatever, but I think that they finished off Andy's arc in Toy Story 3, but not Woody's. So Woody's arc is the one that gets finished in Toy Story 4. Now, alongside that, it has some of the more serious themes of like existentialism and whatnot, but it also has some of the most fun and funny moments of the franchise, and it has the best animation, obviously because it came out the latest, but then again, it is miles ahead of any of the other films. The animation is absolutely beautiful. Some of the new character additions like Ducky and the Bunny are really funny. I love Key and Peele in those roles. They did phenomenal jobs voice acting, but then all of the other characters played a significant role in the film, and I think this was perfect to completing Woody's arc. And although the ending is bittersweet, it was definitely necessary, and I would be down for a Toy Story 5, but if they didn't come out, I would be happy with this being the ending of the franchise. Coming in at my number 7 spot, I have Return of the Jedi. This is just an incredible movie. Such a fun time. You just gotta absolutely love Star Wars. The original trilogy is one of, if not the best trilogy of all time. There's not a single bad movie. I think although this is definitely the most flawed film out of the bunch, and it definitely has the most glaring flaws and less nitpicky stuff, I think it is still a great time. I don't mind the Ewoks, those are fine by me. There are some things that drag in the second act, but the first act and the third act, not to mention the opening scene and the closing scene, are two of the best scenes in Star Wars history. I would even argue even movie history, but maybe that's just because I'm a Star Wars guy. But this film is just absolutely so fun, has probably the best space battle in all of Star Wars, has some great character moments. I love the closing of Anakin's arc as Darth Vader, sacrificing his own life to save his son. That was super touching, gets me every single time. And then you got some other great moments in the mix. Luke's character finally comes full circle in this film, and I just absolutely love everything about it. There are definitely some flaws, but it is just too much fun and too good of a film for character development and some great character moments to not include on this list. Coming in at number 6 is actually another Star Wars film, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Now this is easily the best of the prequels. Some people still don't like this movie. I don't really understand that because I think it is amazing. Although the CG can be a little bit meh at times, I think the character moments are some of the best in the Star Wars franchise. You obviously got Anakin turning to the dark side. His motivation for turning to the dark side is definitely warranted. It's not like some random thing that he decided to just turn to the dark side. He wanted to do it because he loved Padme. He wanted to save her life, as Darth Sidious, aka Palpatine, promised that he would be able to stop her from dying, which obviously he lied because Anakin later did actually almost kill her. But yeah, so obviously Darth Sidious lied about that, and that's why Anakin sort of hates Palpatine for that. But regardless, that's kind of going further into canon. I think Anakin's turn, as I said, was warranted. It shows the Jedi kind of being broken down by Palpatine. It was really great, kind of shows their downfall. Order 66 is insane, one of the greatest scenes in Star Wars. It just hits you right here, super hard. And to see Obi-Wan have to flee and take Luke and Leia to Tatooine, or take Luke to Tatooine and Leia to Alderaan, sorry, I messed that up. But to see him take Luke to Tatooine and kind of make that callback to obviously A New Hope was really cool. You got obviously Anakin turning into Darth Vader. You got the lightsaber battle on Mustafar, which is the best lightsaber battle of all time. It was just absolutely incredible, and there's so much to love about this film, so I had to include it on this list. Making our way into the top 5, we got The Godfather Part 2. Now, I will preface this by saying that I prefer Godfather Part 1. I know at least from talking from other people in the critic community that I guess that's an unpopular opinion. I didn't know it was, but everyone that in the critic community that I know has seen the Godfather films prefers Godfather Part 2 over Part 1. I don't really understand that, but I will say that this is an amazing movie, definitely objectively one of the best sequels of all time, maybe the best. That is definitely up for debate, but regardless, it is a phenomenal movie. I think although it does drag at times, it does feel a little bit long, Michael's character is actually phenomenal in this movie. I love him being at the head of the crime family for the whole film. Cool to see some of Vito's backstory of him coming to America and all that sort of stuff. I do think it really slows the pacing of the film down unnecessarily, but it was pretty cool to see some of that stuff and to see how he became the top of the crime family, and that was pretty cool. Obviously there's some great character moments, and quick spoiler warning, skip ahead like 20 seconds if you don't want to hear spoilers, but when Michael's wife told him that she aborted his baby was just absolutely insane, and I was like so stressed during that part. But yeah, that was incredibly stressful and just an incredible scene. But now that the spoilers are done, I do think, again, similar to Godfather 1, the script and characters and writing and dialogue and all that sort of stuff is just top tier, amazing. I think the cinematography is also pretty great, and overall is just one of the technically best made sequels of all time, but I just don't like it as much as Part 1, and I don't like it as much as other people like it, but it is still my 5th favorite sequel of all time. Coming in at my number 4 spot, I have The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Now this is probably an unpopular opinion, but Lord of the Rings trilogy is just so phenomenal, and I love every single movie in the trilogy. A lot of people don't like Two Towers. I would still give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars or a 9 out of 10. I think it is incredible. Yeah, absolutely. Although it feels a little bit like a bridge between Fellowship and Return of the King, it has some absolutely necessary character developments and world building that needed to happen. It has the best fight sequence or battle sequence in any movie ever, in my opinion, being the battle for Helm's Deep, which is phenomenal. Got some great character moments, some, obviously, as I said, some great development. The performances are really good around the board. You got some great humor in the mix, as well as obviously the rest of the trilogy is pretty funny as well, but this film definitely has it. I think especially the peak of this is a few moments in the battle for Helm's Deep, like Gimli and Legolas's kill count and competition, and then when Aragorn throws Gimli into the pack of orcs. All that sort of stuff is really funny. The action is phenomenal, the characters are amazing, and obviously you got the amazing landscapes of New Zealand that they filmed the Lord of the Rings films in. But overall, I just absolutely love The Two Towers, even though it is easily my least favorite of the trilogy. I love it a lot more than other people do. It comes in at number 4. Coming in at my number 3 spot, I have The Dark Knight. Now this is an amazing movie. I love Christopher Nolan. I do think he's a little bit overrated. Yes, I'm back on that train now, but regardless, The Dark Knight is an amazing movie. Probably the best made comic book movie of all time. Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker is just phenomenal. It is one of the best performances of all time. Even Christian Bale's performance as Batman is incredible. The voice, not so much.
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
I don't hate it, but I'm not a big fan. But his performance is incredible, obviously. Aside from the performances, you got amazing Christopher Nolan visuals. It makes Gotham City feel like its own character. You got amazing side characters. You got Harvey Dent. You got the Commissioner. You got Rachel. Some great characters. You got some amazing action. Super tense moments. Amazing suspense. Everything combined together, and only small nitpicks that I do have with the film make it one of the best comic book movies, if not the best comic book movie of all time, and easily the best of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, and one of my favorite movie sequels of all time at number 3. Coming in a close second is The Empire Strikes Back. Now this is my absolute favorite of the Star Wars original trilogy. This I think always has been and always will be my favorite. It is just such an amazing movie. You got some amazing character development with especially Luke going to train and then having that humility of actually being defeated by Darth Vader as one of the best plot twists of all time in Vader being Luke's father. You got Yoda introduced into this film, who is an amazing character, really funny. I love the puppeteering for him. You got some great battles, especially on Hoth. That was amazing. You got some romance between Han and Leia. You got some emotional moments, Han getting frozen in carbonite, Lando betraying everyone. All of these things combined to make one of the best, most emotional, most epic, and most fun sequels of all time, and just one of my favorite movies of all time. It is just so incredible. The Empire Strikes Back is easily my favorite Star Wars movie, but there's one film that I do like a little bit more, and that film is Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. This is just an amazing movie. It is almost, I would argue, maybe even a perfect movie, just plain and simple. Obviously, you got some great cinematography. You got phenomenal performances in this. You got Sean Astin as Sam, who I would argue, and some people would actually agree with me, that Sam is a better character than Frodo. You got some great Gollum action in here. You got some great Aragorn. You got some great Gandalf action. You got some great Gimli action, Legolas. Everyone gets the spotlight in this film. There's some of the best battle sequences in the entire trilogy, the best character moments, the best emotional beats, and everything is just the best of, in my opinion, the best trilogy of all time. So this makes for just one of the best movies of all time, period. Everything about this movie is perfect for me. The runtime works. It is incredibly long, but everything is stuffed in here perfectly. Its pace is just amazing. Like, for so much stuff in such a long runtime, the pacing is incredible. You never feel like it drags at all. It feels way shorter than it is, even though it packs in so much punch. And this is just plain and simple a perfect movie. This film is a masterpiece. If you somehow haven't seen it already, I would highly recommend you go check out the Lord of the Rings trilogy, because it is, in my opinion, the best movie trilogy of all time. But the Lord of the Rings: Return of the King is my favorite movie sequel of all time. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, definitely make sure to leave me a like down below. That would be much appreciated. Also, let me know down in the comments if you have some video ideas for me to do. But that is it for this video, guys. I'll see you in the next one.